Okay, first of all, hi everybody and welcome. Let's go ahead and first of all say for those who are probably new here, I am EZLO21. And let's go ahead and get ready to talk about what I'm getting ready to talk about here. For what I'm getting ready to show off, I'm going to start by showing off a game preview for a game called Car. So, let me go ahead and transition over, and we will talk about the game as I am previewing it for you. I'm showing off a video preview from the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild, who are basically showing off a little bit of preview of the game as they're playing it. So here we go. And also, I'm going to make sure that I've got everything popped up correctly. So give me 1 second. Okay, let me go ahead and turn off my webcam and make the screen bigger too. Hang on 1 second. Okay, turn off webcam. There we go. Okay, here we go. Let me go ahead and show off the game now. And I will turn on the caption for those who don't want to have a loud sound. So here we go.
Hey, what's up? My name is Kieran, and welcome to our dev video. I'm one of the creators from Really Ragdoll, and we have Brian here as well.
Hi, I'm Brian. I am the other half of Really Ragdoll, and really excited to show you our game today. Been a lot of work, and I am pretty stoked to actually be able to get to a point where we're able to let people play.
Yeah, man. It has been a lot of work, but it's come along nicely.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because this intro we didn't even really plan on having, and then we ended up getting it in towards the end, but it really grounds kind of the start of the story really well.
Yeah, it really puts the player in perspective, and it sets the mood for the whole game.
Yeah, this guy's grin at the end cracks me up still.
Yeah, I like the little jiggle he does.
That's so funny. This is ridiculously, wonderfully cheesy.
Yes, cheese is should be our slogan for this game.
Yeah.
There we go. There's Marsha.
She'll guide you through the processing.
Got it.
Okay, I'm also going to let y'all know now, guys, that when I saw this originally, that I found this very interesting as it went on. So here we go.
That's comforting.
I'm glad we actually put her into the story a whole bunch more. She's almost a Hal, but you know, a little different.
A little less annoying.
There are many workplace hazards on Mars. If you are injured,
Actually, a lot of characters kind of grew on us and then ended up being a lot bigger part of the story than they originally intended. Well, and actually, in all honesty, we expanded our story as we developed to give it a lot more story than we originally intended to.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Otis actually turned out to be one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
But he didn't always start out that way.
Well, a lot of it has to do too with you never know.
As you can see here, this is basically
good of a job a voice actor.
This is basically like a.
You have an idea, and sometimes voice actors just like meet your expectations. But every once in a while, they'll like really impress you, and you're like, oh man, I gotta write this character in more.
This is basically like your 90s shooter games.
Unplanned star of her.
The infamous Otis. And I love the relationship that Otis and the lead engineer have.
Yeah, it's great, that relationship plus the later relationship with the player. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, it makes so much sense and it works out so well.
Oh yeah.
He very much outperformed our initial thoughts.
You know, a big thing, like if you just explain our game without like the context of some of the VO, it sounds like a straight up horror game, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
AI took over the earth, they stretch flesh over their bodies to make themselves look like what they think humans look like. That's pretty horrible. But when you have one of those, you know, flesh wearing basketballs, basically, which is what Otis almost is, be the conductor of a train or the lead engineer of a train,
But
right?
for those who are into shooters and stuff,
it
you
gets
would most
pretty ridiculous
definitely
pretty
enjoy this
quick.
type of a game.
Oh yeah, especially a conductor of a train who our nerdy villain mercilessly yells at.
Yeah. So this is probably the only instance where we ended up going like way bigger in scope than we originally planned, like this level specifically, and the terrain that's moving outside. You can see there. We
Yeah.
originally were thinking we're just going to do like, you know, let's just do a flat plane and put a moving material on it. But we actually ended up getting pretty cool looking. I'm pretty proud of it. Moving terrain, so the train really feels like it's moving while you're playing.
Yeah, it worked out really, really well. I'm very happy with the result. It makes for a nice, unique FPS level. I think a lot of people, you know, if they remember one level from the game, hopefully it would be this train level.
Yeah. Also, the pacing of it is really nice right after a boss level. It's, you know, it's pretty linear. There are a lot of different things you can find. Like this is a secret right here. There's a couple alternate ways to like advance, but for the most part, it's a nice brain break from level 3, which is pretty big, and there's some labyrinthy parts, and then level 5, which is, you know, this big open.
He means level 4 here.
There's a lot of enemies, and then you have to. Sorry, I think I said level 5, meant level 4, where you have to.
And there you go. There's the
fight a
correction.
boss.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice, interesting transition between, you know, bigger levels. I think we actually do a pretty unique mechanic in this level later on, where it sort of gives you an ultimatum where you can sort of stop the train and see where that goes. And if that doesn't happen, you actually get a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. So there's a wee bit of a surprise.
So it's actually really cool. You know, our level just doesn't restart if you fail that objective. There's a little bit of, you know, alternate pathways you can take.
So one big stretch goal we didn't get to, and we're not going to get to, so I don't mind sharing it, because it would be a spoiler otherwise, is we were going to have it that you could, you know, jump off the train and just aimlessly wander for a while. And I don't know if you remember like the old ski game where you're trying to ski down the mountain and then the Yeti comes and gets you.
Yeah.
We were going to do something like that where you get far enough away from the train, some, you know, giant unbeatable monster comes and kills you.
Yeah, I do remember that idea. Oh man, yeah.
But yep, there y'all go, guys. There y'all go.
Please don't jump off the train.
No, don't. Or do. We definitely went a lot more breakable than we. I don't think we really intended much to be breakable at all. We just were going to maybe have some explosive barrels, bootables. But at some point, we just thought like, oh, it'd be cool if we could break things. Or I think we did break them, but like in really, really rudimentary ways.
Yeah. But you know, I think once we got the door kicking in and then the barrel started to explode, we were like, okay.
Yeah, the boot is definitely not taking advantage enough if it can't smash things.
Yeah, definitely. And if we ever get a chance to make a Cur 2, I definitely want to utilize the boot smashing a lot more.
Oh, and also,
Yeah, for
guys,
sure.
I'm going to go ahead and say now that they don't have a announcement for what consoles this game is coming to just yet, but
We actually,
for those who may be interested in it, here y'all
you know,
go.
dipped our toe into some type of looter shooter type thing with some of these crates and some of these breakables. Do you have a little bit of randomness in what they drop? That's another thing I'd like to play on with Cur 2 as well, especially if we can expand weaponry to be more than just like, hey, these are your 9 weapons. If there's like mods or, you know, even more of like an inventory style thing. I would just like to venture into that looter shooter realm a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And, in sort of the same realm, I'd like more interaction as well, and just sort of hype everything up a little bit more to the next level.
Yeah, one thing we didn't get in this that goes along with what we're both saying is we did actually originally have a pretty big kind of skill tree planned. As usual, scoping in indie games means that things get cut. But we ended up with some pretty cool upgrades, but that's another thing that I think could make Cur 2 pretty awesome is some type of elaborate skill tree.
Yeah, it sort of sucks we didn't get there. At least we got the 4 basic upgrades. They definitely add some fun to the game, but a whole skill tree will be fantastic if we can do that.
And as you can see here, a lot of these levels
Yeah, here we go.
for this
Here's,
preview do get
our
pretty
witness
big.
here.
V1, first
Yeah.
encounter.
There you go. A little bit of foreshadowing there.
You're doing what now?
It's funny because I don't know if we had a plan on
I'm just being paid to
this
do
lead
my
engineer's voice, but
and the distinctly
this kind of weird,
murderous
arrogant,
hologram lady
almost
told me to
Simpsons
come in
comic
here
book
and stop
voice
you first. So,
turned out really good.
Oh yeah. It turned out just as funny and cheesy as I wanted to go for.
And Steve will beg for my mercy.
They got this
We
little-
tried. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say this little arena fight turned out pretty nicely with that those drain pipes of acid.
Yeah, that's I was gonna say something too about that. Like,
As you can
him
see, a
typing
lot of
in
this right here
acid rain, we
looks
really
like
tried to make
looks
these
like green
scenes,
ooze.
immersive and interactive. And I think we did a pretty good job. It does usually feel like the enemies are doing something in this area, and you're really messing them up and participating in like the environment that they're in.
Yeah.
Oh, so this level actually
uh,
was a much later addition. We didn't plan on adding this level at all.
wasn't there an
And
That's right.
eventually we said, well, why don't we throw a sneak preview of this type of environment?
All right,
This
then.
whole
And
digital
they-
realm.
I'm not scared.
Right. And originally it was just like, okay, well, let's just throw a plane in, and then it turned out to be pretty fun. So it grew into its own level.
Yeah, I really like the look. It sort of sets you up really well for the rest of this sort of Cur realm, as we call it, or this sort of digital matrix universe,
I am really excited to, because we do lay a pretty good amount of story in, and we tell people a bit about what's going on, but there's a lot of ambiguity too, and that's on purpose. And I'm really curious to see what like hypothesis players come up with and what their reasons for things existing are.
Yeah. And that would, I think, some
Now, a lot of this
interesting
can
theories.
kind of remind you of sort of a Metroid type of game too.
Yeah, the cathedral and the organ and that whole vibe of the Cur realm really fits, and I'm really happy how that turned out. And speaking of Cur and the whole Cur realm, for anybody that's wondering why our game is called Cur, it's actually based on an ancient civilization called the Sumerians, and their word for the underworld was Cur. Sort of like hell, but less fiery, more sort of dusty like our lost souls.
Yeah, a little bit more like a cross between hell and limbo. This
There you go.
weird underworld. And why might this digital realm be, themed like that? You'll just have to play the game.
Yeah.
Come up
there
with
you
your
go.
own theories. Sometimes, Key, I just at the end of explain the game to us. And explain the game to us content. Explain the game to the creators content.
Yeah, what did we make? Tell us.
We, sometimes you just get ideas to add little things, and that statue there we added recently, and it just kind of gives this whole thing this almost like awe-inspiring, but almost like a little bit. I want to kind of say like religious, but not religious. What would you call that? Mysterious or
Yeah, almost prolific. Sort of,
Yeah.
it's otherworldly as well. It gives it this very, inspiring, awe-inspiring vibe, like you said.
Yep.
And that whole Kerr realm, I think, sort of delivers that atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. And the music does too. I mean, Felix had done such a great job. We give Felix really vague, non-musical direction, and he takes that, turns it into something really beautifully, musically perfect.
Yeah, he plays the level a few times, and then we're just blown away by what he shows us.
Okay, to get to the maintenance ship, you'll have to get past the maintenance spot. I'm sure it won't be too hard.
What's that now? I swear I was just somewhere else. And now I'm here.
Yep, you were somewhere else, then you went through the teleporter to the core. Come on, keep it together.
And this boss fight is a really good example of how we try to put a little bit of thought into some things like these, and you sort of have to use your environment to sort of phase this boss out and make him vulnerable to all your big bad bullets.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I would say where you and I had the most like hashing out, that we really talked things out, a lot of design discussions, was around a lot of these bosses.
Yeah.
But another place that we did that and we got close to arguing was whether this game was a horror or not.
I remember.
And I think we kind of ended somewhere up in the middle of what we wanted to do, and we took different ideas for both of us and ended up with this like, well, like some places we do want to be a bit scary because that sells the ridiculousness more and it immerses the player into it. But some places we want to be, completely off the wall ridiculous and try to make the player laugh.
Yep.
And I think it's that kind of dichotomy, or that really big contrast in the moments that you have that make each one unique and fun.
Yeah, and I think that's what gives this game a little bit of character and sort of separates it from the others. We definitely lean into the personality that we want this game to be.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Yeah, that is something that describes Kerr pretty well. It's got a lot of personality.
Yeah, definitely.
Since I seem to be still living, and I'd like to continue doing so, I'll get right on.
Hopefully, y'all are enjoying this
Well, if we're
preview
gonna talk
so
about
far.
Space Station, we got to talk about zero gravity.
Yes. You love it or hate it. I have a feeling most of you will hate it, but please don't hate us.
Yeah. It definitely, there's certain aspects of a game that really make developers work hard to bridge the gap between keyboard, mouse, and gamepad.
Yeah.
Zero gravity and swimming has been one of those things for us that we've been. I would definitely say it's been a struggle, but we're getting to points where it feels good on both.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about being a little ambitious and trying some things that are unique. And zero grav more than swimming is definitely one of those things for our game. But luckily we don't overstay our welcome.
Yeah, exactly. We only make you learn a frustrating mechanic until you've learned it, and then we move on to the next one. No, just kidding.
And wonky movement aside, I'm really proud of this space station. I think it's a pretty cool atmosphere, and it sort of flips the whole pacing on its head. And story-wise, hopefully there's some good lore theories on that.
We do have some, pretty good arena fights. It's taken a while to really get the balance down and, placement of these guys. But
Hey, there you go. For those who want
I
some
think the
arena fights, there
really
you go.
do shine these days.
Yeah, and especially later in the game with the increased enemy variety, like those little patchwork, ball guys that sort of shoot around and then open up, fire some laser beams at you. You know, just all the different types of enemies really sort of come together and keep you on your toes.
This arena is pretty cool, especially, you know, a lot of the glow and that really interesting texture we got there. It looks really cool when there's a lot of enemies shooting too.
Yeah, all the projectiles really stand out. This is one of the most sci-fi arena fights aesthetically to me.
Yeah. This, I think, actually technically is the first level we've ever made. I think this was built out of the prototype,
yeah.
right?
Yes, it was.
There is
Actually,
any
yeah, from
security
the very
personnel.
first prototype,
Stand by.
this was our first level.
This could be
Um,
really good
I think it shows
or
in some
really
ways. But
Combat
yeah,
boot upgrade
definitely
authorized.
a level
Downloading enhanced
to be
combat
dealt with.
mode.
It's
bad. And it's not even my
excuse me, it's gone
birthday.
over a ton of iterations, so it's quite a bit different than the original. But yeah, this open garage bay kind of theme that we have in this level was the first thing we tried to do, and it served pretty well because it had a lot of corridors and it had like this big open area, so it made us consider kind of the two different main scenarios you're going to encounter these guys.
Yeah, exactly. We sort of found we wanted a mix of close encounters that sort of open up sometimes and let that boot fly. If we do get to expand on this game, though, I definitely want to take advantage of the boot mobility more, though. But I think it's a good mix.
Yeah. Funny thing about the boot is when this level was first finished, there was no boot.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That was kind of an afterthought that turned into our, best idea.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, maybe after this level and the first level were made is when we really decided to start leaning in on the boot and making doors kickable and sort of propelling yourself around with that thing.
Yeah, right now, we would love to have more interaction with the boot, and I think like if we do end up making a sequel, not only just like increasing the mobility you have with the boot, increasing the breakables, but making more levels really feel like the boot gives you this really powerful mobility between verticality and getting to different ledges and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's definitely some later levels in this game that take advantage of that a little bit more than others. But we can really go all out in some DLC or some Cur 2. Yeah, this was actually one of maybe our second or third level that was ever created, and this basketball court has stayed true.
Yeah. There's so many things you want to do as a dev, especially when you're, touching everything in a game like we are. There's so many places where you look at and you're like, God, this was awesome. I wish we could have done like, a full basketball game somehow.
Yeah.
This full challenge, but you get in what you can and then you save your ideas for the next game.
Yeah, definitely. There's always more that we can add. But at some point you have to call it.
Yeah. I'm definitely proud of the things that we got in. We really stood our ground on some pretty hilarious, really important points of the game. Even though we did have to, cut things, I think we made really wise decisions on the things to cut. Ended up with like a really solid, meaty game.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I think at one point we planned to have like 30 plus levels, and with how long our levels turned out, that would have been an insane amount of work to get done in the time we've spent so far.
Yeah, speaking of that, one thing I'm really interested to see once the game is released, and even as we test more, is the average playtime that people that beat the game have.
Oh yeah.
It's so tough because we design these levels, a lot of them in a way where you can really explore. You can go through a lot. There's a lot of Easter eggs, but you can also speedrun a lot of them. And I'm really curious how long it takes the average player to beat it.
Wild
Yeah,
guess,
that's
but
true. And
this
I'm really
probably
curious
wasn't part of
to
the
see
original plan.
how many secrets and speedrun routes the average player will find. Because yeah, like you mentioned, we've specifically designed alternate routes that are shortcuts and that beat the level much quicker. So they're sort of just waiting for people to exploit them and find them. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how it all turns out.
For those of you that are listening to this right now, you should definitely find all the secrets because there's going to be some pretty hilarious rewards for you.
Yes. I actually think this is the first
Whoa,
cutscene
somebody
we
call the
ever made.
Assassinator.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. It turned out pretty good, actually.
Yeah. That was sort of my trial and error test to see if we could even manage cutscenes.
And actually, they're a huge part of our storytelling now.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, Lee?
This boss really evolved in a lot of different ways. I don't know that we had some kind of interesting ideas in the beginning, but it really evolved in a way that really fits the level really well.
Yeah, I agree. Our first iterations, ideally what we ultimately wanted to do was a little out of scope. In our first iterations, didn't quite get the job done.
Oh, I'm gonna need more ammo.
Digging animation and then popping back up around these acid pools is just so much more dynamic. And I haven't seen too many bosses that do.
Yeah,
Hello?
seems it's an easy thing to kind of cop out on because you're a retro FPS and
Happy to
a lot of
hear
these
your
bosses
voice,
are pretty
too.
simple, but
Thank you,
something that
Sheriff
we really
Spice,
wanted
for
to
an
deliver
answer
some
to
pretty
that.
unique dynamic fights with
My
multiple
contract didn't
stages
say
and
shit about
various
Ed
strategies you can
Gein,
take, and I think it
and
worked
we're
pretty
in
well.
robots.
Yeah, we have some pretty interesting things going on, and sometimes you got to use your brain a little bit, or even the environment.
Huh.
So yeah, I think they're a little
Red.
more dynamic than just the average bullet tank.
Managed to restore comms to the train and should take you to the research facility. But listen,
Hello? Shit, calms out again?
Stand by.
Flying kick.
Looks like I need to work on my landing.
All right, here's our school level. Oh man, was this one of our later
And again,
levels?
for those who are interested in shooting
This
games,
was
is basically
actually probably
sort of like
the
a
closest of all the levels that made it out. This is
Metroid
the
Prime
closest
type
one
of
to being on
game.
the chopping block.
Yeah. When we decided to scope down from the 30 or whatever levels we originally attended, this was very close to getting cut. But ultimately, I'm glad we didn't. And actually, this is one of my favorite mini boss fights in this level, so even more reason I'm glad we didn't decide to chop it.
Yeah, the mini boss in this, I would say like a 3/4 boss.
Yeah, very true. It's like somewhere
Yeah,
in between a mini boss and a regular boss.
and you'll see once it comes up a little bit later. But yeah, we definitely not just pushed the ridiculous envelope. We put postage on it and mailed ourselves in.
We did.
Yeah, we went full ridiculous on this.
Oh yeah, our biggest inspiration, I'll just say before you see that boss, is if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge anything.
Yep. It took a little while to really get enemies to behave in ways that made open spaces.
So that
There was definitely a while that it felt pretty. It felt like they didn't know their surroundings very well.
yeah, definitely. They are certainly starting to flesh out and feel a lot better. Our ranged
I
enemies
see
are
what you did there.
getting just-
Flesh out, flesh out.
There you go. Yeah, our flying enemies as well are playing a little bit bigger of a part.
Yep. The kind of unsung hero though is the little skull crabs, or skull snails, as I heard them called too, because they don't do a ton of damage, but their sound is great. They're great little jump scares, and I don't know, they do enough damage to be really annoying.
Yeah, yeah. They draw your attention just enough that if you don't shoot them the first thing you see, then there'll be 3 more behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this level is great. This was also a bit of a actually we planned on having the quest levels that come off this as levels, but I think originally we planned on having them be kind of like this linear progression of levels, not this
Yeah.
interesting hub where you get to choose which order you do them in.
Yeah, yeah. And this is definitely something I'm super excited to see player response by. I think some people will wonder why this is in the middle of a retro shooter, but I think it gives it so much character, and I really like the hub world. And I'd love to explore it for a DLC or even a second game.
Yes, and I also, if we ever did do multiplayer, especially with Cur 2, I'd love the idea of these hub worlds where you could have a larger amount of people together, and then you can get a squad together and go play a mission or something like that too.
Yeah, definitely. And plus, I just love designing all these weird, wonky characters.
Yeah, gives me some Half-Life vibes. Speaking of, Key, what games were you most inspired by when making Cur?
Yeah, great question. I'd say really Half-Life was one of the first that came to mind for me. That's sort of like an all-time favorite. I sort of grew up watching that get played in my house. And then Duke Nukem, I'd say, were like the first 2 games that came into mind. Of course, Doom as well, but those are sort of what inspired the character of Kerr and how we wanted it to come across in the personality. And then, all-time greats when it comes to combat is Doom Eternal and Doom in general. So that's always been inspiration. Just trying to have gunplay that good would be amazing. Or even a combat loop that had addicting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me, those were all inspirations for me too. Actually, GoldenEye definitely had some inspiration for me.
Oh
yeah. Dead Space a bit, and then non-games, Event Horizon definitely influenced us a bit in the space station levels.
Yeah. Dead Space and Event Horizon are really 2 really good ones. When we thought of the whole space station vibe, that was like our go-to right there.
Yeah, exactly. Quake, a little bit with our movement and combat style, little influence there.
That's actually funny you mentioned that. Our movement code is pretty much based on a Quake port.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it fits really well.
It does.
We did have some trouble developing because we have this super fast movement, right? And then we threw in the boot, which has a ton of physics around it. You're changing directions really quickly. You're launching yourself into things, out of things, crouching in the air, crouch sliding, and moving really fast. And it definitely took us a while to get the physics feeling pretty right.
It definitely took us a minute. I remember when we first introduced the parkour boot, it was so game-breaking, and we had to sort of tone down the power of the boot, but then it just sort of felt weak, and we had to sort of think for a minute, okay, let's just, tone down the velocity on the y-axis so you don't go as high. So there was sort of a lot of nuances that we had to overcome before it felt right,
Yeah, you're right. And I think the parkour boot, of all the things we've did, the parkour boot is probably the thing that I wish we would have had an idea for earlier.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's been the most level design breaking thing that we've had, as you mentioned. And had we thought about it a little earlier, it would have been nice to incorporate it a little bit more into some of the challenges. As it is,
Yeah.
we've got it in there, and it definitely makes great use in combat. But one thing, if we did a sequel or were even to do some DLC for this, really like to play on some of the acrobatic capabilities you get with the boot.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. It'd be really cool to see even some, just like sort of like speed run maps that are meant for like races or something. Sort of have to use an acrobatic boot or something.
If you've been listening this long, thanks for watching with us, and we're super excited to share this game. We've been working on it, pouring our hearts into this game for a couple years now, and I think we've really created something that you're going to have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, that's the one word I have heard back from testers, regardless of all the bugs or frustrations, with the space station movement or whatever. They always usually say it's fun, so that makes my heart happy that people actually play this game and enjoy it. So I hope many more people enjoy it, and I can't wait for everybody to try it out.
Now back to work.
Yes, let's go fix bugs.
Yeah, let's go squash some bugs.
Okay, here we go, guys. Let me go ahead and make the screen big or small again. Let me make sure y'all can hear me good too. Okay, here we go. I was just double checking there. Now, let me go back to a specific image. Here we go. As you can see here, for a lot of this, for those who missed it, this is basically inspired by Norm Dukem, Doom, a lot of other games that they talked about. And also that they didn't announce what consoles this was coming to just yet, so they'll talk more about that in the future. But for me, I definitely see a lot of people who would be interested in something like this. If you ever play like a Metroid, if you ever played GoldenEye, Doom, Norm Dukem, there's basically a lot of those games that if you've played them before, you would definitely enjoy this. So again, I don't know what consoles this is coming to just yet, Lee. So again, they didn't mention any consoles. Anyway, let's go ahead and make sure that I'm not missing anything important here before I move on to the next trailer. As you can see here, this part right here kind of can remind you of certain parts in Doom. But it is most definitely something you would want to that you'd want to check out if you're into these type of games. For me, I will most likely give it a try in the future if it comes to the Nintendo Switch. But for those who missed the earlier parts of this game or this preview, I will put the link to this trailer in our description below. But again, the name of the game is called Cur. As you can see here, KUR. It's basically 2021 gameplay preview. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the next game that I'm going to preview. Let me go ahead and exit out of the other game now, the other trailer here. Let me go ahead and put on a few commercials. And again, just double checking, make sure y'all can still hear me pretty good. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next trailer. And again, I'm going to make this one bigger, and I'm going to put the subtitles / closed captions on for this one too. In case some people don't have audio or something on because of it being late at night or something. So here we go.
In 2619, Otter kind took to the stars. No map, no fuel, just 3 heroes looking for a new place to call home.
Oh, and I'm also going to say this game kind of reminds me a little bit of DuckTales in a way because of the space part. And you'll see why as it's playing. And there y'all go. Space Otter Charlie coming to the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Steam March 18th, 2021. Made by Wayward Distractions, if I'm saying that right. If I'm not, they'll let me know. And also produced or basically released or whatever it's called by Quantum Astrophysicists Guild. And again, for those who may have missed the earlier parts of this trailer, since it's so short, I will go ahead and replay it.
In 2619, Otter kind took to the stars. No map, no fuel, just 3 heroes looking for a new place to call home.
And again, there y'all go. I've played it twice for those who may have missed it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a little bit of announcement that, like I said, that Space Otter Charlie will be coming out on March 18th, and that will be let me get the calendar out for a moment. again, the 18th will be on Thursday, the day after St. Patrick's Day is when this game comes out. Again, they only gave you basically a 58-second trailer, Lee, so I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that I may be able to play this game sooner rather than later. I will let y'all know something pretty soon. So again, be prepared. If I do get a chance to play this beforehand, I will do what I've done with other previous games that I've played from the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild, and I will put their name in the title like I've done before. Again, that's if I do get to play this. So again, I'm going to make sure that I'm not missing anything super important here. I'm not going to replay the trailer, but I am going to show off I am going to show off a certain part. Let me find it though. Okay, like right here, for example, just look at these visuals. I mean, for this particular game right here, this kind of gives us a this sort of gives me a DuckTales impression. But again, that's just my thought. That's just my thoughts, or my thoughts for this particular scene right here. Now, this part right here kind of gives off a Super Paper Mario feel as far as space goes, at least to me. Then, of course, you've got your three characters that are going to be most likely playable within the game. You've got star of the game, of course, Space Otter Charlie. Again, this one is Space Otter Jesse. And this one is Space Otter, I guess it's Ada. I don't know how you say that name. If I'm saying it wrong, hang on, let me check.
Looking for a new place to call home.
Okay, nope, it didn't say all their names, but I do know two of the names at least. But again, this was just a preview for two of the new games that I may most likely have a chance to play. And let's move on just a little bit, make sure I'm not missing anything too important. Okay, now these enemies right here kind of remind you of something from the Zelda universe, almost like a I forgot what they call them in Zelda, so I'll just call them evil spinners. Then, of course, you got your what looks like satellites here, I guess. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything too important here before we move on. Okay, here we go. Zero gravity puzzles, basically. That's what zero G means. And then, of course, you got your crazy weapons and suits. Got alien encounters. And then right here, you've got sort of space version of certain parts, like in Celeste, for example. Multiplayer mayhem. Of course, you got your jump. Got fly. Got slide. Then, of course, you've got spin. And, of course, explore. Then, of course, you got your ending image here, of course. But again, that's basically everything as far as this preview, as far as this trailer, this preview of this trailer goes and stuff. So, want to be sure that I wasn't missing anything. So, I will go ahead and see if y'all have any questions or comments. If not, then I will go ahead and wrap this stream up and we will go on another raid. Oh, and also, I do want to thank y'all for the 4 likes, by the way. Now, let's see if y'all have any questions or comments. Oh, and also, while I'm waiting on y'all's possible questions or comments, let me go ahead and do another commercial or 2. Okay, we are pretty much now at the as you can see here, we're now pretty much at the conclusion of this particular stream. So I've been going here with this for an hour and 4 minutes. So I want to make sure we have nothing else to talk about. So talked about possibly being able to play this game. I'm not going to spoil it, but I do want to give sort of a teaser for it. Let me check my email real quick. I don't care if y'all see the email in the background. But there is one thing I'm not going to let you see, though. Hang on. Again, I don't care if y'all know my name because certain people already know it anyway. Okay, here we go. As you can see here, they're basically thanking me for getting back to them about Kerr. Then again, it's basically tell you about they'll have more to share a bit later this year. But for now, they'd like to share the exciting launch details about Space Otter Charlie with me. Okay, now I'm going to give sort of a synopsis here. So, in a galaxy left wrecked by mankind, it is up to some optimistic sea otter or some optimistic sea mammals to head out into outer space. And there's that joke. Join Charlie and his ragtag crew of critters on a daring mission through the galaxy as they search for a new planet to call home, to explore. Basically, explore space stations, battle unhinged robot, and enjoy some utterly horrific puns as you jump, float, and fly through over a dozen levels of furry fun. You'll join Charlie and his crew of otterstronauts on an epic journey across the solar system to find a new home. Space Otter Charlie releases on the Nintendo Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam on March 18th, 2021. Yo, hi there, Experienced Ashley X. How you doing? So again, do y'all have any questions or comments? Let me see if I can carefully scroll down without spoiling anything at the bottom. Because I do want to show off the unique features and stuff here, right here at the bottom. Okay, now I can't go any further than that because that'll give a spoiler for something. So here we go. Here is what studio head Ed Illender of Ed Allender. If I'm saying that wrong, I'll figure it out later. Of Wayward Distractions had to say about creating Space Otter Charlie. While I was playing around with zero-G prototypes, the fluid motion reminded me of Feeding Frenzy, which was the first game I created like 100 years ago. I'm not the first person to realize this connection. NASA trains astronauts for spacewalks underwater. I started thinking that sea creatures could probably adapt more quickly to the strangeness of zero-G than humans could. Blend the zero, blend that realization with zero-G game prototype and the long time of love of sea otters, and you've got Space Otter Charlie. And then, of course, you've got your unique features, which is use all of your abilities to pull off trick shot and damage enemies. Swim as an otter through zero gravity and jetpack through dangerous new areas. Enjoy local multiplayer modes with up to 3 friends. Craft new weapons, upgrades, and wacky spacesuits to help you tackle puzzles and enemies. Learn more about your furry friends with fun facts as you explore. And that is basically it. And if I go any further down, it'll spoil something. So again, let me go ahead and add in a few more commercials. And let me check some. Okay, everything should be good now. So again, thank y'all for tuning in. If y'all have any other questions or comments, now's the time to ask me. If not, we are going to go on a raid. But I want to be nice and give y'all, let's see here, it is 10:42. I want to give y'all another at least 7 minutes of possible question time. So, while I'm putting on another commercial, I'm going to go ahead and, in the background, look for a raid target. Okay, we've got Tom Leo doing Paper Mario Color Splash. Or we can do Dark Gamer doing Destiny 2. We've got Marcos F. Diaz Nova Boy doing Splatoon 2. Pudge is doing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Pegasus Angel is doing Splatoon 2. We got Snap Click Cat doing Super Mario Maker 2. Holden Dude is doing I mean, you can kind of see the game to the side there. Experienced Ashley X. I don't know if Experienced Ashley X is done doing Minecraft or not, but they were streaming Minecraft. Or we've got, actually, you know what, guys? I think we may end up rating Claire. Let me see how far Claire is. Hang on. Yeah, it looks like Claire's about done. And we'll pull the trigger. We'll raid Claire. Give me 1 second to put the link in the chat. And again, we're going to raid Lightning Farron, aka Claire. Here we go. Yo, hi there, Purple Spark. We're getting ready to raid Claire. I'm pretty much done with this particular stream, so I will see y'all back here tomorrow for 2 more, maybe 3 more Nintendo Direct post reactions like I've been doing, and then we will do some SNES Online after. Let me go ahead and get Claire's link before they get done real quick. Hang on. And I will see you all there. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for coming to this basically preview. And I will, like I said, I will see y'all tomorrow. Good night and goodbye, everybody.